welcome to my YouTube channel, and today we will discuss about the topic respiration. So if we go by the book definition of respiration, it's basically a process in which oxygen is inhaled and CO2 is exhaled. Okay, but if we go by this definition in which oxygen is inhaled and CO2 is exhaled, it will be like this is normally known as breathing. This is ventilation. We can call it as a breathing process. क्योंकि breathing में normally हम देखते हैं कि हम क्या करते हैं, we inhale oxygen and we exhale CO2. That is simple breathing. But then what is respiration? So respiration is a physical process. It is basically a catabolic process in which oxidation of food, or we can say breakdown of food, takes place. In which breakdown of food, जहाँ पे breakdown हो रहा है food का, breakdown of food takes place. Okay, and energy is released. So we can call it as a cellular respiration also. Cellular respiration. So in these, like we got two terms. We got to know about two terms. हमें दो terms के बारे में पता चला. एक breathing और एक सेल्यूलर रेस्पिरेशन. क्योंकि आप रेस्पिरेशन को सिर्फ इतना नहीं कह सकते हो कि यहाँ पे आप इनहेल कर रहे हैं ऑक्सीजन और एक्सहेल कर रहे हैं CO2. इट्स नॉट दैट मच, ये इतना नहीं है. इट्स बेसिकली फिजिकल प्रोसेस, ए कैटाबॉलिक प्रोसेस, जहाँ पे ब्रेक डाउन ऑफ फूड हो रहा है और एनर्जी रिलीज हो रही है. सो वी कैन कॉल इट सेल्यूलर रेस्पिरेशन, क्योंकि सेल्यूलर रेस्पिरेशन इट टेक्स प्लेस इनसाइड द सेल्स, जहाँ पे एनर्जी यूज्ड अप होती है. Energy is used up, okay, and CO2 is like eliminated from that. Okay, so this is basic respiration. ये respiration है हमारा. And as we know, respiration is of two types. Respiration के दो types होते हैं, aerobic and anaerobic. So we will come on those two types. वो दो types क्या हैं, aerobic and anaerobic. So first of all, if we talk about aerobic respiration, aerobic respiration क्या है? मतलब एक ऐसा respiration in which atmospheric oxygen is used up, जहाँ पे हम atmospheric oxygen used up कर रहे हैं. Or we can say in simpler terms, in presence of O2. In presence of oxygen, first point. And second point aerobic, क्योंकि जब respiration की बात आ रही है तो you must know this कि breakdown of food तो होगा. There would be that breakdown of food, oxidation of food in which energy is released. तो यहाँ पे भी वो चीज़ होगी, breakdown of food will take place for sure. And second point is यहाँ पे जो है aerobic respiration में a complete breakdown of food takes place. Complete breakdown of food. Like हमारा जो food है, of course we know that is glucose. So this glucose will be broken down completely into, first of all, pyruvic acid. Okay, in presence of oxygen, and this process takes place in cytoplasm. In cytoplasm it takes place. Then further this pyruvic acid is also further broken down, but the process takes place in mitochondria, and here this pyruvic acid is fully broken down and CO2 plus energy is released. So energy is released in larger amount here. So this is aerobic respiration. So aerobic respiration क्या है? जहाँ पे complete breakdown of food हो रहा है. जैसे हमारा ग्लूकोज है in presence of oxygen and inside हो कहाँ पे रहा है वो आपको याद रखना है, inside the cytoplasm, and it's broken down into pyruvic acid. Then further pyruvic acid is broken down into CO2 and energy is liberated. So here a complete breakdown of food takes place. So this is your aerobic respiration. Second, we have the second type of this respiration is anaerobic respiration, and we will discuss that कि anaerobic अब क्या होता है, ठीक है? What's anaerobic respiration? So I will just put an here and it's done. So anaerobic respiration, the number one point, as आप भी समझ गए होंगे, the respiration which is taking place in absence of oxygen. So it takes place in the absence of oxygen. Absence of oxygen. No oxygen is available. Okay? And it's shown by microorganisms, you know, such as yeast and all that. So what happens here? Here, second point is that incomplete breakdown of food will take place. Incomplete breakdown. Incomplete breakdown of food. Like how? We have glucose. So here, in absence of oxygen, and that too in the cytoplasm, it will be broken down into pyruvic acid. Okay, so it's broken down into pyruvic acid. So it's an incomplete breakdown of food. It's not further broken down into and CO2 and energy is released. Here energy is released in lesser amount. So this is your anaerobic respiration. Okay. And in anaerobic respiration, I can give you an example of, muscle fatigue. Sometimes what happens, our muscles anaerobically respire. For example, when you are, when sometimes for the first time you are running very fast, you have a brisk walking or you are running around, so you need more oxygen is fastly required by the body. So what happens, then at that time our muscles anaerobically respire. They anaerobically respire, and what happens, this glucose in absence of oxygen is broken down into pyruvic acid, and further it's broken down into lactic acid. It's further broken down into lactic acid. So the accumulation of lactic acid in our muscles lead to muscle fatigue, which is also known as the muscle cramps. जो cramps पड़ते हैं, कभी आप देखेंगे पहली बार अगर आप कभी you have run fast or you have done a brisk walking, your muscles जो हैं उनमें cramps पड़ जाते हैं. So this happens because of this incomplete breakdown of food, which is anaerobic respiration. And one more thing, there is also fermentation is there. Fermentation में क्या होता है? From glucose. From glucose, what we make in the presence of enzyme thiamase and yeast, alcohol is produced. So here also C2H5OH is produced. Alcohol is produced. This process is also known as fermentation. You can add on here, आप यहाँ दिखा सकते हैं कि pyruvic acid further यहाँ पे ethanol बनाएगा. So this is fermentation. ये incomplete breakdown है. This is your anaerobic respiration. Fine. Now if we talk about the differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration के क्या differences हैं? What are the differences? The differences क्या होंगे? The difference number one, aerobic, it's very simple. You can do it yourself also. But let me help you in this case. Aerobic. First point, very simple, in presence of oxygen. And here you will say in absence of oxygen. Okay? In absence of oxygen. Second point, food is completely broken down and CO2 is liberated. Food is incompletely broken down. Incomplete. And the end product is like, we can write here ethanol. Even lactic acid is produced when I gave you the example of muscle fatigue. Third point, energy is released, is liberated in larger amount. Energy is liberated in lesser amount. Then fourth point is, it occurs in cytoplasm and mitochondria, but here it occurs only in cytoplasm. So anaerobic occurs only in cytoplasm. So these are basically the differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Okay, now this was about the respiration. How respiration takes place, like in human beings, that will be discussed in the next video. This was just a brief outline about respiration and its type. So I hope you enjoyed learning, and if you enjoyed learning, you should like and subscribe my channel. Thanks a lot.